Welcome to the Design Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Chris Whyte, and in this podcast series, we explore the career journeys of design and engineering leaders from the world of physical product development. In today's episode, I'm joined by independent industrial design, strategy, and innovation consultant Emily Moyer. In a career spanning over 20 years, Emily has collaborated on product development with companies such as Aura Home, Bark & Co, Electrolux, Flight Fitness, L'Oreal, Mimi Medcessories, Block, and Melissa & Doug. I'll take a breath now, crikey. She has also led comprehensive structural design innovation programs for Fortune 500 businesses like Colgate-Palmolive, Conagra, Nestle, PepsiCo, P&G, and Unilever. Along the way, she's picked up a bucket load of industry awards, and I'm absolutely delighted to have her as my guest on the show. Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great. Yeah, it's great to have you. And I'll be honest, I wish I'd rehearsed that intro a little bit more, because some of the company, the brand names in that particular order tripped me up. But how did I do in terms of an intro? Is there anything you would add to that?
I think you did great. I'm Emily Moyer. I'm an industrial designer with more than 20 years of experience creating physical consumer products that people use every day. And
Fantastic.
I think you mentioned, I work with big brands such as L'Oreal and Nestle, as well as startups like Aura Home, producing digital picture frames, and Bark & Co, designing dog toys.
Wonderful. So, and perhaps you can give us a bit of an update in terms of what you're up to right now. That you mentioned off air, you're about to go on holiday or vacation. Sorry.
I am. I have a wedding to attend, a family wedding to attend in Rome, and after that, I'm going to Greece.
Amazing.
And when I come back, there are some new things on the horizon, but I'm not going to get into that.
Cool. Rome is absolutely amazing. You're going to be there this month, are you, or early next? We're recording this early June, but I imagine you're going to be there in the next few weeks, are you?
Yes. Let's see. In 2 days. I'm going in 2 days.
2 days. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I went last summer, and it was during the European heat wave, so it reached about 43 degrees whilst we were there, and unbeknownst to me, I contracted COVID early on in the holiday. So
Right.
I put it down to heat exhaustion, because it was so 43 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that works out in Fahrenheit. Sorry for our American listeners, but it's hot. And
Yes.
I just put it down to heat exhaustion, but I was just absolutely drained. And then it was like about 4 days into the holiday that all the pieces of the puzzle came together. I was like, oh, this feels a lot like COVID now. And but dragging myself around the Sistine Chapel and around the Vatican and the Colosseum. I mean, my eyes had a great time. The rest of my body, not so much. But hopefully, hopefully you don't fall foul of that. But you'll have a lovely time, no doubt.
Yeah.
So, well, let's kind of talk about design. That's what we're here for. So, then let's rewind the clock back to the where it all started. So you studied at the University of Kansas, industrial design, if your LinkedIn's correct. So
That's right.
what kind of led you down that path then? Why industrial design?
Well, I was always involved in the arts, always making things with my hands. And I studied English and I studied sculpture. I think I started out as an English major, then soon realized, as I thought about what am I going to do after graduation, and switched to sculpture. And I recognized that I had big questions about what I'm making and who's it for and why. And when I discovered industrial design and realized that you can get deep into these questions and study marketing and business and human factors, ergonomics, as well as do what I'm so passionate about, which is studio time, working hands-on, creating things. And also I love doing puzzles. And this was like, this was a wonderful career for gathering all these little puzzle pieces and bringing them together.
Amazing. Yeah. It's so was there design in the family then, or is that just kind of like a chance kind of discovery whilst you were exploring other things?
Good question. Yes. My father is an architect, and my sister is also an interior architect.
Okay.
And so I grew up, playing with architectural templates and draft paper and plotting things on a plotter, and actually making, spent summers making architectural models. And so, yes, very much in the family.
Fantastic. So, but yeah, as with a lot of children, resisting the path of our fathers to carve your own kind of design journey as well. I see. So, so wonderful. So, do you stay in touch with anyone from the university course? I know it's kind of going back a little, but these kind of paths intertwine, don't they? Quite often we come across people later on in life.
It's been a bit, but I do occasionally. And when I come across even young people who went through the program, I can see that they've had like this really wonderful exposure to this program that is so comprehensive. It's a 5-year program, and you study in the different schools, and I think it's a really wonderful program. I also studied summers at Rhode Island School of Design, RISD.
Okay. Yeah.
And I enjoyed those programs for the studio time, and also visiting designer studios and different things on the East Coast, and also in Italy. I went to Milan for a summer with RISD. That was a really incredible experience, and I keep in touch with people from that program.
Amazing. Yeah, certainly. An international experience at that kind of early stage is, it's wonderful. That is, and so you mentioned studio time a couple of times there being important. We're going to dart kind of back and forth through kind of time and space here, Emily. But obviously, you're working now as a consultant to businesses, where I think from kind of the conversations we've had, you do a lot from your own studio. Do you get out to see clients and spend time in their spaces? Kind of, is that something that you do and enjoy, or how does that kind of compare to early days?
I would say work life has really changed. A lot of people are not, working in an office per se. But I have all the tools here, and I do opt for in-person meetings whenever possible. And certainly working with a team, it's great. I mean, there are really wonderful online tools now to collaborate, but it's hard to replace meeting in person.
Absolutely. So in terms of tools, it's not something we often go into too much detail in the podcast, but I think why not, I guess. But what softwares or tools are you finding particularly useful these days for that kind of virtual collaboration?
It depends per project, but I've used Slack and Trello, and definitely Miro, where you can post concepts, do brainstorming. Really, sky's the limit with what you can do with that program.
So Miro's like the digital whiteboard thing, is it? Or
right.
My previous firm, we tried that during the first lockdown, and I think the amount of time I just sunk into kind of creating digital versions of the whiteboards we had in the office, and we had this whole big kind of brainstorming activity of things that we were going to do and how we were going to come out of COVID. It was quite good fun and quite creative at the time, but I don't think it actually made it past that kind of stage. Once things started getting busy again, we never went back to it. So I guess it's slightly different if you're kind of using it in your kind of day-to-day job, though.
Right. I mean, for me as a consultant, I adopt whatever works for who I'm working with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So let's kind of go through kind of some of your career. So early days, then, obviously you did a bunch of internships, and then you spent kind of 4 and a bit years at A2 Inc. Oh,
Yes. Yes. So I'm from Chicago. I
yeah.
had some summer internships at some solid industrial design consultancies in Chicago. And then I moved to New York City for an opportunity with A2, which was called
Mm-hmm.
Ancona 2 back then. They specialize in housewares products. And that first 4 years was such an informative, educational period of time. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't trade it for anything. I was able to be hands-on at every step of the design process. I had solid 3D skills in
Mm-hmm.
SolidWorks coming out of Kansas, and that was a skill at that time.
Yeah.
This is, I'm kind of a dinosaur, but 1998, SolidWorks was in high demand, so that was a really good foot in the door. Now I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be a little bit different. Possibly, you have to show that you know how to use the tools, the older tools, the
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop and 3D programs and whatnot, and have an understanding of all that, but also probably have some experience with AI and how you
Mm.
shape it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
massively. I think that, yeah,
yeah,
you're absolutely right. Some of the fundamentals won't have changed in terms of kind of the design process. It's just some of the tools that you use along the way will obviously have updated somewhat. But yeah, SolidWorks is still going strong. I mean, you've got competitors like Onshape, which are doing a lot in the cloud, and a
right, right,
lot more bang for your buck, from what I can see. And then,
definitely.
yeah, the advancements in AI are both exciting. It's scary at the same times. But yeah,
Yep,
so that
yep,
was consultancy. You exposed to consultancy at quite an early stage there, and some big brands as well.
yeah.
Colgate on there, and so don't recognise some of the other brands on there, but Colgate certainly sticks out on your LinkedIn profile. So were
Sure.
you kind of dealing directly with clients at that stage then, or was it kind of you were part of the team
Uh,
and then someone senior was doing that?
so I'll just rewind for a second. The
Yeah,
first engagement with A2
yeah,
focused on housewares, and
mhm,
I was able to work on such a vast array of products there, from
yeah,
flatware to ceramic planters to blenders and toasters. And so that exposed me to learning about different materials, different material
hmm,
properties and processes, and coordinating with a variety of overseas manufacturers.
hmm,
Uh, and I think the cool opportunity was I got to see so much of what I worked on go to market,
yeah,
probably 40 products in 4 years at the shelves.
wow,
So that was it was like earning an additional college degree, that position. And then in between that, I actually left that job to move to Italy.
yeah,
I said, New York City, I'm done with you. I'm getting out of here. And that lasted about 5 months. Well, I was planning on three. I stayed 5 months in Milan, and I had studied there, so I was familiar. I had some contacts and familiar with some studios. Had a wonderful time. Lots of stories there, but I'll skip those. But then returned back to New York City with a new love, new passion for it,
yeah,
and did a couple of freelance gigs, and then the next role that I settled into full time was at a consultancy that focused mostly on structural packaging innovation
hmm,
for Fortune 500 companies like Nestle, Colgate,
hmm,
PepsiCo, Unilever, a lot of the big ones. And this this experience brought additional layers to my design process, because when
Mm.
you're working with companies at that scale, the product quantities and the impact on their business, uh, they're too big to fail. So you have to have
Yeah.
checks in place to set your products up for success. There's a brand identity element.
Mm.
You have to have a clearly defined white space opportunity, and have consumer insights along the way to help inform decisions. So this is cool. I mean, all of these additional layers of the process. This is great. I mean, for any design
Mm.
project, this is a great approach. Set them up for success. And so then after that, when I went off on my own, I followed my husband to San Francisco for his career, and I was teaching industrial design studio there, and heading up industrial design for a consultancy, working with interaction designers. And
Mm.
my projects became a little more uh, techy, I would say, like hardware, connected devices, startup
Yeah.
related.
Cool.
Um,
So how did you
and
find
yeah,
that switch then from kind of, yeah, packaging where it's constrained creativity, I guess, kind of creativity with with boundaries, to working with a lot of tech startups who I guess might not even
yeah,
have and kind of a brand identity or guidelines at that stage. They're very much in that kind of feel their way kind of phase.
it's
And you're
all,
talking about more experience, yeah.
yeah, it all, the core of all of this is user experience. And
Mm.
what actually brings me to the profession and brings me to work every day is serving people, solving problems, creating better experiences, better products, bring more joy, more beauty to the world.
Wonderful. What's the what's the most interesting or kind of one of your like a favorite products that you've developed or brought to market, or maybe not even the product, but the experience that you had developing that?
Um, well, I would say Aura Frames, Aura Home
Yeah.
was really fun because I started working with the founders before the company was formed. They were
Mm.
doing software. They're software engineers, and they were doing social apps before that. They both the founders came out of Twitter,
Okay. Cool.
and and then they decided. Well, we were all having this experience in our lives where we had kids, and we wanted a better way to share photos of our kids with our parents. And, there were different photo blogs where our
Mm.
parents would have to log in, and we found they weren't logging in. And we didn't want to put all these moments out on social media or be sending emails where the photos just get buried, right? And also, noting that we're constantly taking all these photos on our phones, and
Mm.
they're just getting buried in there. And so we decided to make a digital picture frame that uh, is connected over Wi-Fi to your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the software engineers come in, is creating this beautiful app that it provides such a seamless experience of being able to select a photo on your phone, add
Mm-hmm.
it to your parents' picture frame that's sitting
Oh,
in
that's
their living
amazing.
room,
Yeah.
and it's there. They're there looking at it, and so when I'm in, well, they're going to be in Italy with me, but when I'm on a trip,
Yeah.
it's always fun to post these pictures in real time.
So they can have this picture frame in their home, and it's just automatically updating with kind of the photos that you're sharing with them. So they could walk into their living room and be surprised by this wonderful new new photo
Yeah.
from your adventure, or a picture of the kids or something like that. That's
Yeah. My kids will draw, happy birthday sign and hold it up. We'll take a picture and put that on the frame, or,
oh,
different
that's
things like
brilliant.
that. It's pretty
Did
fun.
I've seen Aura Home. Like, obviously, I'm quite into the uncovering new technologies and kind of new prospective clients, as a design recruiter. But I didn't realize it was that kind of IoT connected. Do they do
Yep.
them? Can they be quite big? Kind of pitch frames, or is it the smaller
There's a
size of?
15-inch.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah, that's something. I still serve as an advisor to Aura.
yeah,
That's something that they talk about is, and that people do say that they want, is a very, very large frame.
yeah.
Other companies certainly have gotten into this and
Mm,
compete with them. I think, well, in the U.S. anyway, Aura is the leader in the category. But
I might check
yeah,
that out.
and
Yeah, it's
yeah, and so
yeah.
for them, I brought in a sourcing person who
Mhm,
is still there running the whole product development, working with all the factories. They actually
yeah.
have a couple teams overseas that he works with.
Okay,
Brought in
cool.
him, and then brought in another industrial designer that I had worked with at another consultancy, and he's heading up the all of the creative now.
Oh, interesting. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, you've got my recruitment kind of spider senses tingling there, then, Emily. So, talk me through your experience. That's a nice segue, isn't it, to kind of something I've got expertise in. So, you brought them in terms of, you kind of went out to market to find them, or were these people in your network that you already knew that
These
you
are
could
people that I
recommend?
had worked with before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's, yeah. I mean, that's 90% of all jobs are filled that way, aren't they? Through kind of through word of mouth and people that you know. I think something like only like 10% of vacancies are ever advertised or reach a advertising platform these days. So, but brilliant. So I mean, it's quite a position to be in, isn't it? With a business that's a client of yours, to be trusted to recommend people like that and grow that business. So that must be quite, for you, quite rewarding.
Yeah. And it's just so fun to build something completely from scratch. And,
Yeah.
we doing the first trip to China and touring different factories and figuring out which factory we're going to work with and all of that.
Brilliant. Yeah, a lot of fun. So obviously you clearly love travel. Italy being somewhere that you've been a few times. I think I saw on your LinkedIn that you speak Italian as well. Do you?
Oh, oh man. That would be yeah, we'll see about that. No,
That's
I don't think so. I mean, I became fluent in Spanish for a bit.
okay.
Language isn't really my thing, but yeah, so speaking Italian, I was completely confused all the time between Spanish and Italian. And so
Yeah.
um y- yeah, I can communicate probably, but it's not going to be good.
As long as you can order a glass of wine and a bowl of pasta, I think you get by better better than most. Um,
Exactly.
Wonderful. So, yeah, absolutely. And we've died around there then. But if we kind of talk now about kind of maybe trends that you're seeing in the industry. So you've been privileged to work with some very big brands and some kind of small but growing brands, and some wonderful kind of stories there. But what kind of trends are you seeing in industrial design and in product design that have kind of come out recently?
Mhm. I mean, certainly the most exciting thing for me in the last year has been the advancements in design tools in
Hmm.
AI. So working in Mid-Journey
Yeah.
and following the people who are not only Mid-Journey, there are several other tools, like Viscom was actually developed for industrial designers.
Okay.
And there's another one for mood boards. don't know how you pronounce it, Mood,
Okay.
Mood. It makes beautiful mood boards. That was developed by a consultancy in San Francisco, actually,
Oh wow.
an industrial design consultancy. And so just, yeah, following the people who are experimenting with it and bringing it into their work. And, there's a colleague, there's a colleague of mine, Hector Rodriguez, who is his mission is to give every industrial designer a seat at the table when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
And so he's been consulting with a lot of different companies, helping them to adopt AI. So that's very exciting. I'm still, I see the limitations because I've, experimented with concept development, and I'm like, wait, whoa, what about, uh, what about the thinking and the strategy that leads you to real innovation in a category? AI is not going to come up with those ideas. It's not going to pull together the puzzle pieces in the right way to come up with something. It's great for styling, experimenting with styling, but if you're turning something on its head and creating a better user experience, uh, that's got to come from the designer.
Yeah, for my view on it is that it's one it's a lot of fun to play around with it, but ultimately you've got to understand the limitations of it and where it pulls its data from. It's essentially a big, very quick memory bank, isn't it? Of kind of, so you've got to know how the indexing work and how to access the certain memories to give you the output that you want. So just like ChatGPT, if you give it a vague prompt, you're going to get probably the wrong or the output you didn't want. And the same with Mid-Journey. You've got to understand how to get
and
the
the
best out of
concept
it.
has to be pretty fleshed out before you
Yeah.
get into that. It reminds me of like back in school or when I was teaching industrial design with people hopping into 3D before fleshing out their concept.
Yeah.
And maybe their 3D skills are still developing too. And so they're building what they know how to build in 3D, and it's not going to create a beautiful design. It's like not the right way to go about the process. You have to do the diligent, sketching and maybe making some quick prototypes before you even get into the 3D.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like with anything, you need a kind of a level of knowledge before you can really get the kind of the most out of a tool. So I remember going to see Design Partners in Bray near Dublin. It's going back a few years now, but the first time I went to see them, walking around the studio, they're very traditional in terms of their industrial design. So everything starts life as a sketch and then a blue foam model before it even touches SolidWorks or Creo. Because their view, and I'm inclined to agree, and it's the same. A lot of consultants I've worked with have a similar view. It's like if you go straight into CAD, you're going to end up with something that's completely kind of disjointed from reality or the kind of the perspective. And so they are meticulous around kind of, especially ergonomics, because they do a lot of gaming controllers and mice and keyboards. It's like it's got to feel good in the hand and be in the right proportions before you then put it into CAD, because otherwise you're just back and forth wasting time, really. But there's other studios that I've worked with where everything's got to be hand sketched. Not because that's necessarily a better way of doing it, but from a presenting to clients, having a professional kind of render and a photorealistic render to present to clients is a bit precious in some cases, whereas a hand drawn sketch or marker rendered sketch feels like they can be a bit more involved and they're happy to kind of kind of get the marker pen out themselves and go, well, actually, I like that, but if they maybe had the angle there, you got that
100%. Yeah, it helps them to
yeah,
understand that
yeah,
it's pliable. It's just a rough concept. It's not it's not real yet. It's not set in stone. It's
a-
something to
absolutely.
engage.
Are you frustrated by drawn-out recruitment processes, missing out on talent to your competition, or wasting time interviewing candidates who don't quite live up to their profile? Well, if you're the founder or leader of a physical technology brand or design consultancy, here's what we can do for you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris Whyte, host of this podcast and the founder of Kodu, a specialist recruitment consultancy focused exclusively on physical product development. By working closely with you and your team, Kodu will help you improve your entire experience of hiring. We'll make it easier to identify, attract, and ultimately hire the very best design and engineering talent ahead of or from your competition. You'll only interview candidates who fit the brief, and we'll work with you to ensure you get the outcome you want, and fast, typically in 6 weeks or less. We have a 100% fill rate, and we guarantee to get you a positive outcome. Simply put, if we don't deliver, you don't pay. But how can I make such a claim? Well, the short answer is I've been doing this for a very long time. Kodu is built from over a decade of my own personal experience hiring hundreds of designers, engineers, managers, and leaders, over 95% of whom are still in post 12 months later. I've personally built an incredible network of thousands of professionals in the physical product design and engineering space covering the UK, US, and Europe. And I've taken what I've learned over the years and put the best of that into Kodu. So if you'd like to spend less time stuck in a recruitment loop and more time doing what you love, get in touch. Email me, chris@teamkodu.com, or message me on LinkedIn. But that's enough from me. Let's get back to the show. So on the topic of sketching and those kind of skills, I don't know how much you get involved or see kind of other kind of designers' portfolios, but that's a big topic amongst people that I speak to. Kind of what should be in an industrial designer's portfolio. Kind of, can you think of some kind of do's or don'ts, or kind of things that you might kind of look for or advise to people?
Yeah, in a portfolio, I want to see versatility, like not the same process every time for each
Mm-hmm.
project. Definitely showing some sketching. I'm a big fan of ugly thumbnail sketches.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be super polished. Um, yeah,
Why
just
is why is that then?
getting the um similar to showing clients rough sketches. It's it's just uh part of the conceptual phase, just
Yeah.
keeping it rough, doing kind of quickly jotting ideas down, and you can always go back and flesh them out more. But I like a lot of young designers also tend to come up with one or two ideas and go full on deep with them, and
Mhm.
haven't really fully explored. So yeah, I like to see a breadth of exploration of distinct different concepts.
Yeah, I think it tells a story, doesn't it, of kind
Yeah,
of how you got to the decision, and even if the decision was ultimately was the wrong one, at least it shows that you've got a process, or you've kind of had some ideas, and you can work. You get an idea of whether you can work with that person, whether because if you're
right,
just showing the end result, it's like you've got no idea kind of how they came to that or whether they did it themselves. So
right, exactly. It's like, okay, what is this now? How did this really come to be? Yeah,
yeah, and with the advancements in AI, like any this might obviously my opinion here, but any young designer that's showing a portfolio that's just renders, it's immediately going to kind of generate questions of, is this their own work? Is this AI, or kind of how did we get to that point? And I think
yeah,
any time you leave questions unanswered on an application, be it a portfolio or a resume, um,
yeah.
it's
And
an
yeah, and I'd
opportunity
like to
to
see, I like to see prototypes. I like to
yeah
see that they've tested it, at least with friends and family, at least some
yeah
testing to help inform decisions.
fantastic, yeah, absolutely. So um So in terms of kind of, you've worked on some wonderful products over the years, and with some brands. I keep going back to that, but perhaps you've got some stories you could share in terms of kind of when design kind of went really well, or what a lot of people like hearing about when things didn't go so well. I think that people can resonate with those. It humanizes people, doesn't it? But yeah, any stories you'd like to share from your career?
Something that went really well. When I got back from Italy, I did a quick freelance project with a little design consultancy, and it was for Target's prescription bottle.
Okay.
It was the Target RX prescription bottle. And I mean, really, it was a small team, but I breathed on it for a second. Like, I don't remember how long I was there, but it was weeks, not months.
Yeah.
And there was some really great thinking and brainstorming before putting pencil to paper. And that product, the new prescription bottle, ended up winning Design of the Decade for IDSA, IDEA award, which is a big deal in the US. And so that's exciting. My name's not attached to it anywhere. It was a quick freelance project, but that one surprised me. Like, oh my gosh, look what happened.
Yeah.
So that was exciting. As far as something that didn't go so well, I mean, it's not that bad, but I worked on this wearable keyboard. It already existed with this company. It was the second generation of this wearable keyboard.
Keyboard as in kind of keyboard for data entry, or keyboard as in music?
For data entry, yes. Yeah. So it's for people who are really into wearable tech, right? And it's called the Twiddler, and it had been identified as a partner for Google Glass. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was, I forget what year it was, but Google Glass was in the works, and so the company was very excited to have this partnership as the preferred, keyboard to go with the Google Glass. Okay. So you're doing everything with wearables. And, the keyboard came out, and it's well loved. It's doing great for the people, really people who are into wearables. And the Google Glass, however, is on every list of products that have failed massively.
Yeah.
And the problem really was putting the technology before consumer expectations, lifestyles, their desires.
It was a little bit ahead of its time, wasn't it? Because if they came out with that now, I mean, perhaps they were kind of the prophets in some way. Because look at it. You've got people walking around LA now with kind of the Apple kind of Vision Pro. Just walking around the streets and stuff, Google Glass failed because no one's ever going to wear something that ridiculous. Are you going to power it? And I look at people. I mean, I remember seeing someone got pulled over because they were driving wearing an Apple Vision Pro, and it's like, it's absolute mental. But
wow.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago, that does it, but I guess it was.
It was a long time. It was a long time ago. Yes.
Late noughties, was it, or the kind of? It feels like I don't know. At least 10 years ago, they were kind of that.
Absolutely, it was like I think I worked on it probably in 2009 or 10, and I think it came out in 2013. I'm not 100% sure, but around that time, yeah.
Wow, yeah, it's it makes me feel old, those kind of stories. But so do you remember a time where, or I don't know if this has happened to you, it happens to a lot of people that I speak to, and certainly I remember a time where it felt like, you get to a certain stage in your career and you feel like I feel like I know what I'm doing now. Like I've been doing this a little while, and good things happen when I kind of follow a process, or for me, it was like I was 18 months into my previous role, and I'd just filled a role and had followed a process really quick. And I was like, huh, I, I can do this now. You know, that level of self-belief, I don't know if you've ever kind of got to that moment in your kind of career where you go, I feel like I know what I'm doing now. Does that ring true
Yeah,
to you?
definitely. I mean, it's true. After having my different consultancy experiences, and then I moved to San Francisco, and I'm meeting startup founders, and they want to make a product, but they've never made a product before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know how to take you through this.
Yeah.
And um, and then doing that time and time again with different companies working mostly independently, that has built up some, yeah, confidence around it, because yeah, I know how to do it, and it's been a niche that I've filled, is like working with early stage companies and
Mhm.
helping them, uh, visualize their brand and how it can be expressed in product design.
It's a great feeling, isn't it? I mean, I've been through it recently again myself with launching Kodu. I had an opportunity to design a new process for how I wanted to deliver kind of recruitment, and having gone through that process with a couple of businesses now, I've had that kind of that feeling again of I've designed something that works. It's like this is delivering kind of the outcomes that my clients and my candidates want, and it's a great feeling to be able to positively impact. And you must feel the same way working with startup founders, and that kind of feeling of these businesses trust me now and I've got the confidence to deliver. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Slightly related to that, given your experience working with founders, what are some of the pitfalls or the advice, I suppose, that you give to startups, or trends that you see within kind of the startups that kind of you're able to help with?
Hmm. I think the tricky thing is, sometimes there aren't the budgets for all the due diligence, like the real consumer insights, or what else, like doing a whole user experience study.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just want to skip to, we just want the concepts, and that's a challenge to me when I know how it should be done,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want to meet their needs. So there is, like, sometimes I try to think about it like it's just building concepts for a pitch deck for them,
Yeah.
and maybe everything doesn't have to be ironed out. And hopefully, if they do it for real, when they do it for real, then they will spend the money where it counts, and hopefully I'm
Yeah.
still engaged and can help them through that.
Yeah, I guess there's that kind of balance between kind of getting enough collateral to gain the investment versus kind of how much money and time do you spend before you actually kind of can start generating either investment or kind of revenue. There's always compromise to be made, isn't there? So interesting. And you've been kind of as a kind of an independent for some time now, haven't you? How long has it been since? About 15, 16 years, I
About
think.
15
2020.
years, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, with Aura, I worked with them for about 3 years when
yeah,
getting them started out. Other than that, I mean, there have been times where I've worked with design consultancies on a contract
mhm,
basis. Um, so yeah, there have been different things woven like in between that,
yeah.
all of that time. But yeah, 15 years doing my thing.
So, looking back over that time, then, kind of your message to kind of other designers that are thinking about kind of following a similar path. Um, what have been like the key lessons for you that you think kind of giving your time, kind of speaking to a younger self, you might kind of advise, like, be aware of this or kind of try this differently? What kind of things stick out?
I mean, you definitely get to see what you enjoy doing versus you don't enjoy doing because you get to choose where you're investing your time. I would say, like for me, the challenge is business development.
Hmm.
It's the last thing I want to be doing. And then also, working with the team on a regular basis and working on something consistently. Um, I think the next step as an independent consultant for me would be to uh, try to scale, try to, bring in people to create, hopefully someone who's good at business development and wants, has the energy for that, and create, an opportunity for bigger projects and more consistent work.
Yeah, my experience of working with creatives who are good at business development, enjoy doing that, is that they are in tremendously high demand. So it's very difficult. I think a lot of people will resonate with that, kind of in a similar situation to yourself. Is like, um, yeah, I just want a consistent kind of opportunity flow, because I guess when you're in front of a client, it's straightforward enough, isn't it? You understand their kind of, you get to
Yeah.
the number of their problems, and 9 times out of 10, you've worked on similar projects, or at least you're a problem solver, so you can kind of prescribe kind of how you might fix their problems. But from a business development point of view, have you found anything that's particularly effective for you in front of getting in front of new people?
I think, for those who are comfortable putting themselves out on
Mm.
LinkedIn, doing LinkedIn posts, talking about what they're thinking about, I think that can be wildly
Mm.
successful. I put a bit more energy into that the last couple of years, and that it made me feel more connected to people, getting responses from everyone, and it drove some inquiries as well.
Great. Well, yeah, I think the key there is consistency.
Yeah,
Kind of, because there's like a billion people that signed up to LinkedIn, but only like 1% of people who've got accounts regularly post something, like at least once a week. So if you're
yeah,
posting once or twice a week, you're immediately kind of in the 1%. So those
yeah,
people that you're connected to that are following you are going to see that stuff. So I advise anyone that's wanting to advance their career, whether they're looking for employment or looking for consultancy work, that LinkedIn's a great tool to take advantage of, because
yeah.
they haven't.
Well, I see a lot of men doing it. I'm not seeing a lot of women in industrial design doing it. So please,
It's very true.
if you're out there, uh, yeah, more women posting on LinkedIn about industrial design would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I think everyone feels that anxiety of kind of, well, does what do people care? Are they going to be interested in this? But my experience is that just do it, because good things will happen, because people want to share in kind of what you're doing, and kind of, and share your success stories. If you've had a great time with a client, then talk about it. Kind of even better, if your client will let you, tag the client and kind of do a showcase of the stuff that you've done, even if it was a year or two ago. People love case studies, and they're inquisitive, so, and that will lead to work. Um,
Yeah,
and conversely, when things go bad, people love kind of helping, and if you share stories of when things haven't gone so well, yeah, just put it out on LinkedIn. Kind of be vulnerable.
yeah,
People will
definitely.
be kind.
Yeah,
They're inherently
people
kind,
love
aren't they?
how I got through it stories too.
Oh
If
yeah,
you've gone through something rough and come out the other
massively.
side. Yeah,
I might do a podcast episode where I share some kind of my thoughts on that, just as an independent thing, because I do a lot around LinkedIn about kind of for myself, and there's a lot that's transferable to design, like I share. But that's for another time. If you're listening to this and you want me to do that, please comment, and I'll that will definitely sway me. So we come into kind of the tail end of the conversation now, I guess, Emily. But just a few quick fire questions for you. So, kind of favorite book or podcast that you're enjoying at the moment?
Right. So I don't often find time for books or podcasts, but that said, I recently got the book from Turner Duckworth Consultancy that's called "I Love It. What Is It?" And
Okay.
it's just this beautiful book that has inspirational stories about creating big brand success, and it's really about brand identity and visual design. There's a lot of eye candy there. It's just a beautiful book.
Amazing. I'll certainly check that out. And
Yeah. And then podcasts. There's I saw at an IDSA conference John
mhm.
Murriello. He has a podcast called Design Theory,
Okay.
and I could listen to this guy talk about anything. He's just so smart and talks about design in a really exciting way.
Awesome.
And then
Yeah.
lastly, on LinkedIn, I would recommend following Hector Rodriguez for all of
Yeah.
the updates and what's happening on the AI front. And there's also Jonathan Thai, from San Francisco consultancy Hatch Duo, that is
Oh,
also
cool.
staying current with all of this and works with Hector also.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
check them out, and yeah, I'll share all these in the show notes and on the promo we do on LinkedIn as
Yeah.
well. So, um, and on the topic of LinkedIn, obviously we've talked about kind of some things that people can share and to style. But are there any particular things that you've seen recently that people are sharing that you think, wow, that was great, that kind of stopped you and got you thinking that maybe people can replicate?
Mm. I mean, I love seeing the wrap ups of, people that went to Salone Furniture Fair in Milan,
Yeah.
people who went to CES in Las Vegas. I love it when people do posts with the highlights and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So it's great.
What's your opinion on personal posts on LinkedIn? Because traditionally it's a professional network, but I think since COVID lockdowns and such, there's been more personal kind of things shared on there. You see a lot of people, certainly in my industry, talking about kind of their journey away from alcohol
Hmm.
and kind of sharing kind of pictures of their kids and how proud they are.
Yeah.
Where do you
Yeah. I
sit on
mean,
that?
yeah, I'm definitely open to it. It, helps build connection, helps you feel like you really know someone to the point where if you did need whatever service they're providing,
Yeah.
it builds trust around that they would be a go-to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was having a conversation with a peer recently, and she was like, "Well, her first reaction was, I don't want to post anything personal because that's what Instagram's for and that's what Facebook's for." But really, I think what you've just described there is more common for people to think now.
Yeah.
Is just it normalizes you, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
it's
I'm
especially
good
if
with
you're on.
yeah, I'm good with personal posts on LinkedIn. I don't like it when people post about professional stuff on Facebook.
Interesting. So.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn's the place to be for any flavour really, whether it's professional or personal. But
Yeah.
Facebook's just for fun. Although to be fair, I
Right.
don't post too much on Facebook because there's a lot of dross on there. But wonderful. Okay, so in terms of how people can get in touch with you, LinkedIn is obviously it's a preferred, or it's a good kind of method for anyone looking for advice, or anyone indeed looking for kind of professional advice. If you're a startup founder or a business looking to develop a new product or experience, they can reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Any other ways people can kind of connect with you?
You can find me through my website as well, which
Yeah.
is emilymoyer.com, EMILYMOYER.com.
Fantastic. Yeah, and again, I'll include all this in the show notes. And then finally, anyone that you'd like to do a shout out to, or kind of a mention just before we close things off?
Um, I don't think
Appreciate you've done a
so.
couple for
Yeah,
Hector and Jonathan, haven't you?
you're
So
right. Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll certainly be checking out the Twiddler because I'm interested in that, and the Design of the Decade award as well. That's an incredible achievement. It's a shame you're not listed on that, but yeah, fantastic. Emily, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. Really appreciate it, and yeah, I'll look forward to sharing this with the audience.
All
But
right.
yeah,
Thanks
thanks for
for
joining.
having me. Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you for listening. I hope you really enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please like and subscribe and tell all of your friends. In the meantime, just a quick note from me. In addition to hosting this podcast, I'm also the founder of Kodu, a specialist recruitment business focused exclusively on physical product development. For a little over a decade now, I've worked exclusively within physical product design and engineering, helping startups and established brands hire mechanical design and development talent from mid-weight up to C-suite. I've worked in consumer electronics, e-bikes, femtech, medical devices, design consultancy, basically user-focused stuff. And it's the wonderful people I've met over the years that have inspired me to create this podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Kodu and how we work, please head over to teamkodu.com or message me, Chris Whyte, on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening.